Hi guys, today we're going to be looking at 7.1 origins of the Cold War. So first we're going to look at the different ideologies. So we have capitalism and communism. Capitalism is where everything is like private enterprise, allows profits to be made. There's a higher quality of life, but it doesn't necessarily mean equality because some people are going to be more richer than others. So there's varying lengths of richness and poverty. USA is an example of a capitalist society. USSR is a communist society. Communism has lots of censorship. Everything is state-run and government controlled. Lots of equality, but lower quality of life. Yalta Conference, so the big three, so Roosevelt, Stalin, Churchill, they met up in February 1945. And they agreed on many things, for example, to punish the pro-Nazis responsible for the genocide, to hold free elections, to see Eastern Europe as a Soviet sphere of influence, to set up the UN to organize peace so there's no more wars within Europe, as well as to split Germany into 4 zones and Berlin into 4 zones. The only disagreement they had was about Poland. So USSR, they wanted to push their border into Poland. However, Churchill disagreed. Roosevelt persuaded him anyway, and saying that if you didn't interfere with Greece and Turkey, then I won't. Then Stalin won't. Then Stalin can obviously push his border. Potsdam Conference. And the big three met up again. However, there had been a lot of changes since Yalta. For example, Truman was now president, as well as Clement Attlee. Truman was much more suspicious of Stalin, and he wasn't going to tolerate anything. Secondly, the USA had developed their atomic bomb, and last but not least, Stalin had increased his control. So what were the disagreements that they had? They disagreed on the reparations. So Stalin wanted more money from Germany, whereas Truman didn't want an unstable Germany. Stalin wanted a crippled Germany, whereas Truman wanted a stable one and allow it to develop. It didn't want the same bitter one and repeat the same mistakes it had done before. And last but not least, they disagreed on Stalin's control. Stalin had promised free elections, so he held the elections, and he held them. However, he quickly put communist forces instead. So this was known as salami tactics. So he allowed elections, but he quickly replaced them with communist forces. And the USA and the other superpowers were very suspicious of this because they thought that Stalin was just using this as an excuse to increase his control. They had agreed that it would be seen as an influence, but they didn't expect Stalin to obviously take forcefully over countries, for example, Czechoslovakia or Hungary and other countries. So that was some of the disagreements. So what were the effects of the atomic bomb? So as you know, USA had developed an atomic bomb. They developed it in secret and revealed it afterwards. However, Stalin already knew because he had spies showing how suspicious they were of each other. And USA dropped it on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. However, Japan would have surrendered it anyway. So historians say that perhaps it was a way of showing Truman's threat towards USSR and showing how powerful they were. So what was the Iron Curtain? The Iron Curtain was a metaphor. It was a metaphor used by Churchill in his speech showing the East and West divide. And countries had to pick side whether they wanted to be capitalist or communist. And it showed how both of the forces were taking control over different countries and forcing them to obviously choose between the sides. Then we had Greece and Turkey. So Greece, there was a civil war going in Greece between the monarchists and the communists. Monarchists wanted the king back, whereas the communists didn't. They wanted a communist party. Churchill originally invested money into this. He secretly supported the monarchists. He wanted to restore order, so he provided money for free elections. However, he later backed out because I think he ran out of funds. Similarly, in Turkey, Stalin needed access to the Mediterranean Sea via the Black Sea. However, Truman was scared that Turkey might become an ally, so he issued the Greece and Turkey aid and confirmed them as an ally. Stalin felt provocative, and he felt like Truman was trying to make people rely on dollars, so he felt threatened. We had Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia was ruled by Marshal Tito. He was a communist already, so Stalin didn't want to take action against him because Marshal Tito, he wasn't obeying Stalin's orders, and obviously that was very disrespectful for the communist leader. But Stalin didn't take any action. He just used propaganda against him. USA tried to get them as an ally, but Marshal Tito, quote, he didn't want to be a puppet. Marshall aid and Marshall Plan. So George Marshall was sent to observe Europe's economy, and he saw many signs of communism that they thought obviously were communism. They thought that they saw famine, hunger, poverty, diseases, and George Marshall, he said that $17 billion would be needed to rebuild Europe's economy. So Truman went to Congress and he appealed, and the Congress only gave 12 billion. However, that was a huge amount of cost considering it came from the taxes of the local people, so that was taken away. And yeah, again, Stalin thought, he felt very angered. He felt like people were he was trying to make people rely on dollars. He refused any communist countries applying for Marshall aid, as well as the fact he set up Comecon and Cominform. Comecon was to coordinate trade within Eastern Europe economies. This allowed him to get free, cheaper goods. And Cominform, so form is kind of reminds me of a government, because form, obviously, formations. So that's a good way to remember Cominform. Cominform was set up to coordinate the Eastern European governments. Truman Doctrine claimed that any aid, equipment, money would be given to a country that's under threat of communism, and this became known as containment, so trying to stop the spread of containment. Berlin Blockade, 1948 to 49, so Berlin Blockade. So we had West Germany and East Germany. West Germany were developing faster because they had introduced a new currency without Stalin knowing. They were developing very fast, and obviously this threatened Stalin. People were moving to the East and the West, but that's going to come in later. And so, obviously, Stalin wanted to get rid of the Western Allies, so he ordered a blockade. This limited the movement from the movement of food from east to the west, because you had to get to east to go to the west for the railways. So he cut it off, and he cut off the entire population. And the West, considering the domino theory, so the idea if one country becomes communist, the others will follow. They decided to provide Berlin by air. This became known as the Berlin Airlift, and this was very scary because it would be seen as an act of war if the plane was shot down when in Soviet waters, because Stalin had ordered if the aircraft entered the Soviet waters, and it would be seen as an act of war. So people were very frightened, and yeah. So that is all of 7.1 Origins of the Cold War done.